Welcome back to the Manifest Magic podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about intuition and some of the experiences that we've had with intuition. So, to start off, um, intuition, do you want to say like what intuition is?
Yeah, so intuition is basically just like that voice inside of your mind. So like if you ever, you know, have had that like feeling that you should do something or that something's not right. Some people call it like your gut feeling or your instinct. That's what your intuition is. And so it's really important, especially when you're younger, to get acquainted with it and just to kind of understand that there's so many things we can't perceive as human beings, and I feel like your intuition can like see things that we're not consciously aware of and kind of give you like warnings if something is dangerous, or it can kind of push you in a positive direction of something that's going to help you. And I've noticed kids intuition is really good, it's really heightened.
Yeah.
I think because you're young enough where you still trust it, like you haven't gone through experiences that maybe make you doubt yourself. So for parents out there, that was a tough lesson for me, is learning that if your intuition is telling you something, that I need to listen, even if I don't agree with it, because there's been some crazy things that have happened. We're going to talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I've always had very high intuition. So, one of the very first times that we ever like kind of realized that like I had a strong intuition was it was her birthday about I want to say 4 years back. And so her and my dad were like, okay, let's go out to lunch. And I was just like, no, I don't want to go out to lunch. Like, no. And usually like when we go somewhere, it's just kind of like I'm just kind of like whatever, just like go with the flow. But I did not want to go. I was like, no. And I don't even remember exactly like why I didn't want to go. Like I just didn't want to go. Like I was not in the mood to go anywhere. And usually like I want to go somewhere. I'd rather do that than sit at home. But I was very like no. And they were like, okay, well we're gonna go anyways, because it's her birthday. So
Yeah, it was unusual. Like you never really gave us a hard time about doing anything. And you were just like, I don't want to, I don't want to. And we were like, well, too bad, we're going. We totally like ignored you. And we got in the car to go.
yeah, and so we were on the road and we were like not that far from where we were going to get lunch, and we ended up getting in a car accident, and the car like crashed right into the back, like right where I was sitting.
Yeah, it was a bad wreck. Like the whole back of the car was completely totaled right up to the seat where you were
Yeah.
sitting. And it was just like, I think it was traumatic for you,
Yeah.
especially just like never experiencing anything like that. And yeah, and then you were like, I knew it. I had a bad feeling. I knew something was going to happen. And
Yeah.
that's when it clicked for me that you weren't just not wanting to go just to be difficult. Like you knew like something did
Yeah.
not feel right. And it was like you could sense something bad was going to happen.
Yeah. I think it's like really crazy too, like when you think about the fact that like it was completely dented in right up. It was like basically like halfway through the seat, but it was like right up to where I was sitting. And if it
Yeah.
would have crashed like a little bit further, car probably would have hit me.
Yeah. So after that, I was like, okay, if you ever feel that way again, like you don't want to do something, you're like, you feel like something's going to happen, I'm going to listen. That was a big wake up call, because that could have been bad. Thank God everyone was fine. No one was hurt, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and there was also one time like before this, but like we didn't really take it that seriously. We were just like, "Oh, what are the odds?" Because there was one morning and I was just like feeling kind of like sick like in the morning, but like the rest of the day I felt fine, but like I also kind of just wanted to like stay home. So I was like, "I didn't feel good this morning. Can I just like stay home?" And you're like, "You know what? Like, yeah, why not? Like I'm going to be at work, but dad will be home so you can just stay here and hang out with him." And then it was like completely like normal sunny day, and then out of nowhere there was like a huge tornado. And at the time my classroom was in one of those little like portable like mobile home type of things, and everyone had to like do like a like severe evacuation and like sprint to the inside buildings. I'm like, what are the odds that I just decided to stay home that day?
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. Like a tornado literally went through our backyard. There were
Yeah.
people's homes who, like their roof was damaged. All of our furniture was in the pool. I had no idea, by the way, that any of this was happening. I was at Publix, and like I get a, everyone's phone in Publix starts going crazy because there was like tornado warning. And then dad was texting me. He's like, all the furniture's in the pool. And I was like, well, why would the furniture be in the pool? It seems like there's a tornado. And
I
I'm
know
like,
we were
what?
like texting you and we were like, oh my God, she's not answering. We're like, is she still in the car? Like, we're like, did the tornado get her in the Publix parking lot? But no, you're just like walking around Publix.
Oh man. Yeah. So good thing you stayed home that day.
Yeah.
You
And what
made
are
it
the
seem
odds you
like
were at Publix? What if you were in your car?
I know. I know that would have been bad.
Well, and then also another time was we were at Disney and it was just like me, her, and my little sister Millie. And it was like after the fireworks show. So obviously everyone's like crowding out to leave, but it was like insane. Like I don't think I've ever seen so many people in my life.
We were
Like,
shoulder to shoulder. People were like pushing into one
and
another.
we had the stroller too. So people were like tripping over our stroller and like pushing the stroller. And so I was like, go over to that bench over there and let's just sit for
Well,
like
that
10
was like
minutes.
it was like last minute too because everyone in the whole park was trying to leave. So we were literally walking in the
We
line
were
to get on
already
the
in the line.
monorail, and Alexis like stopped and she's like, "Come with me." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Come with me now. Just come with me." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So I turn around, we're like fighting people to get out of line. And then you like led us to this bench where it was like safe and there were no people around.
Yeah, and like Millie was throwing like a temper tantrum too, because obviously she's little and she's freaking out. 'Cause she's like hungry. So
Yeah.
like we like sit down, give her a snack, and then we're just kind of like waiting. I'm like, wait for the lines to die down. Just
Yeah,
like
because I kept
wait.
saying, I was like, okay, are you ready? Like, because I thought you were just panicking. I was like, okay, are you calm? Like, let's go ahead and get in line. And you were like, not yet. And you just kept saying, not yet, not yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, when are we going to be ready to leave?
And then like right like the last time I was like, just hold on like 10 more minutes. There was another line that had opened up, which it was for like the hotel monorails. And I was like, go to that line. You were like, no, it's for the hotels. And then I was like, I asked the worker, I was like, does this circle back to the parking lot or is it just the hotels? Like, so she was like, if you go on and you go through all the hotels and then you just wait, it'll circle back to the parking lot.
Yeah. So we got to get like right on the monorail while this other line was like still not
Yeah,
moving.
and there were people literally like arguing in line, shoving, pushing each
It was
other. Kids were
scary.
crying.
Yeah. It was very chaotic. But it was like the craziest thing because you like knew, and it was like spot on, like literally the moment you were like, okay, let's go, that line opened up, and then like you just knew. And the lady, I was like, no, we can't go on that monorail, it's the wrong monorail. And you like asked, it was like you just knew that it was going to work out.
Yeah.
So ever since then, every single time we go to Disney, I'm like, okay, you're the navigator, and like you will know which side of the park to go on, which side to
Yeah, it's
avoid.
so weird. Like I don't know if that's just because I don't even think it's just because we've been there so many times. Because even like before we had like been there a lot, it's like I always know like exactly where to go when. Like you'll be like, oh, we should go over here. I'm like, no, we'll go over there
Yeah.
later. And so last time we were there, which this was like just a couple of weeks ago, we were going for like 3 days. So the first day we were driving up there and she was like, let's go to the water park since it's going to be hot out, which keep in mind it's like 90, 100 degrees. And I was like, no, let's go to Hollywood Studios. And she was like, okay, whatever, we'll go for a little bit, but then like we should go to the water park after. So like we're like halfway through the park day and she's like, okay, we're leaving and going to the water park. If you guys want to stay here, you can stay here and we'll just pick you up later. So I was like, okay. And so like an hour later, she texts me and she's like, we're on the way to the ER because Aiden fell at the water park and had to get stitches. And I
Yeah.
was like, what are the odds?
I know. It was like literally another situation where I was like, Alexis, like it is so hot outside. why would we stay here? Like, let's just go to the water park. It'll be more enjoyable. But you were like so set on like, no, I'm not going to the water park. I'm staying at Hollywood Studios. And yeah, and then like literally dad and I were like, why did we come to the water park? This was terrible. It was like
Yeah.
we were there like maybe 10 minutes and then he fell and yeah, then it was the ER the rest of the night.
Yeah, the whole time, and like after you guys had already left to go to the water park, it was like getting really hot outside. So we were kind of questioning. We were like, should we have gone with them? And then as soon as you texted me, I was like, good thing we didn't go because we would have been stuck sitting in the ER all day and
Yeah.
all night.
Yep.
And one other time too, we were in the parking lot because we decided to like go shopping that day because the kids wanted to get some crafts and I had to get a birthday present for one of my friends because I had a birthday party that weekend. And so there's this like shopping center by us and it has like a Five Below, a Dollar Tree, Ulta, Marshalls, all of that stuff. And so she was like, okay, I'm gonna take the kids to go look at crafts and Marshalls. Do you want to come with or do you want to just go in the other stores? And I was like, well, I'll just run in Ulta real quick to grab like a couple things for my friend while you guys do that so that the kids don't like get antsy. And she was like, okay. So I'm in Ulta and for some reason, like there was so many workers in the store, but we were the only people. And like we were just waiting in line for like 20 minutes and no one was like helping us and we were just kind of like hello like we're waiting here and so like literally like 15-20 minutes later the manager finally comes and like checks out our order and stuff and I see you standing at the door and you look like panicked and I was like that's weird so we like walk over there and you're like telling us how there were these people in Dollar Tree that were like following you so do you want to tell that part since you were there.
Yeah. So they walk to Ulta. I'm walking up to Dollar Tree and I have two little kids with me. Um, and this girl, like something did not look right. Like it, something was wrong with her for sure. Like she was acting very, very strange. And she was like walking up at the same time as me, like almost like she was trying to like walk in the doorway at the same time as me. So I just kind of like stopped and like let her go. And then I get in there and she's like standing there like waiting for me. And then she starts like trying to talk to my son and but I could tell like I was like something's not right with this woman. And I just thought it was like really weird and she starts following me and I'm like what the heck? And so I keep like going in other aisles trying to get away from her and I finally do. And then next thing I know, I see her again, and now she's with another woman, and they're both whispering and staring right at my kids. And I'm like, this is creepy. I just got like the horrible, horrible feeling like, alarm bells were going off that something wasn't right. And so I went in the next aisle, and they go in the next aisle. And I go in the next aisle, and they go in the next aisle, and they just keep following me. And then every time I would stop and look at them, they would just all of a sudden start looking on the shelf and they kept saying, oh, we can't find it. We can't find it. That's so weird. And I was like, oh my God, they're like following me. Like they're going to try to, I don't know if they're going to try and take my kids or rob me or follow me to the car. And I had like the worst feeling. It was like, do not go to the car. Like they're waiting in the parking lot with someone. Like I just had this, it was like I just knew not to go in the parking lot. So I waited in there for a while and I had debated on texting Alexis, but then I was like, well, I don't want her to come out and like be in harm's way. So I just waited a little bit until they were gone and it seemed like the coast was clear. And I throw the kids in the stroller and I like sprinted to Ulta. I just ran, did not stop at all, get in Ulta. And the whole time I'm like watching the parking lot to see if I can see these people. And that's where you were in line. And I was like, what is going on? Because you were standing in line. There were like 8 workers, all just standing there chit chatting, like not checking people out. And so we were waiting for a good like 20 minutes. You guys come over. I explain the situation. And I could just tell they're kind of like, oh my gosh, like she's over exaggerating that
Yeah.
these people are following her. So I was like, I don't care what you say. Like, we are walking straight to the car quickly and just get in the car, lock the door, and we're getting out of here. So we start walking, and all of a sudden, I see the 2 women in a car. And as we're walking, they both turn to stare at us. And there was a man in the driver's seat of the car. And it was like they must have been sitting there waiting these 20 minutes for us to walk out. And then they're all staring at us. And the second you saw that, you were
Yeah.
like, run. Like
Yeah,
you
like that.
just,
I don't know what it was like, but the second I like noticed them, you were like, see, like that's the girls. And I like saw, I looked in the car and there was like some old man in the car. And I was like, I was like, I picked up Millie and I was like, go straight to the car. Do not make eye contact with them. And so I just like threw Millie in the car seat. I was like, just sit in your car seat. I'll get you buckled once we start driving. And we were with Jacob and he was like taking like a minute to get in the car. I looked at him, I was like, get in the car. Like, and you were like getting the stroller in the car. I was like, just get in the car. Like, throw everything in the car. Don't even worry about like closing up the stroller and stuff. Like, just put it in the car and get in the car. So we get in the car and we go to pull out. And what are the odds? The same time we pull out, they pull out. So I was like, just circle the parking lot. Like, don't leave because they're gonna follow us.
and then you got your phone out and you got a good picture of the car, the license plate. And I think they saw that because then eventually they turned and went the other way. So maybe they like knew. But I mean, I literally was like, I'm calling 911. Like it was like these people for sure were following us.
Yeah.
And then after all that happened, like days after, I was on this Facebook group for like the moms in the area. There were, I forget if it was like 3 or 4 other women that said the same exact thing happened to them in the same parking lot where they were being followed. And they think that these people were, you know, either going to try to rob them or kidnap them or the kids. So I definitely think it was something.
Yeah, and then after, like, a lot of people started posting the same thing about that parking lot, then it started happening in other parking lots in the same area too. So it kinda makes me wonder if it was, like, the same people and they were just moving to parking lots because they noticed people were reporting that.
Yeah. So moral of the story, like when things like that happen and you get that feeling in your body like something's not right, that like alarming feeling, you have to trust it. And a lot of times you might think like, well, I don't want to look rude or stupid. I don't, like because that's kind of how I thought. I'm like, I probably look like a maniac, like thinking that people are following me, but
Yeah.
I didn't care because it's like I would rather look dumb than end up in a situation where like I'm harmed or the kids are harmed. So you have to trust that feeling. And if something is telling you the situation isn't good, get out of there immediately. I don't care how it looks, just get out immediately. And it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to share those, like little things because like your intuition can be great for, manifesting and positive things, but it's also something that will protect you. And as you're young, if you can learn how to tune into that and listen to it and trust it, it's gonna help you a lot as you get older and just help you like stay out of situations that could be, dangerous or negative or whatever. So yeah, let us know. Let us know what situations like that have happened with you. Like, has your intuition helped you in any situations? What's our Instagram? They can message you on Instagram.
Manifest Magic Podcast.
Yeah. So head over there, let us know, and we'll see you back here next week.